Hi, I'm Brett Jennings, and for the last 12 years, I've traveled the country to meet, mentor, and mastermind with some of the brightest and best minds both inside and outside of real estate. I've taken those ideas, brought them back to our team of experts, and sold hundreds of homes per year all across Silicon Valley, and this is how we do it.
Thank you for jumping on to join us on the top agent secrets on how to grow a successful team. My name is Lauren and I work with real estate experts with Brett Jennings. Brett's going to be our moderator today. For those of you who don't know Brett, Brett is the founder and CEO of Real Estate Experts. He went from a team doing about 160 million to a Team Ridge brokerage that last year we did 1.18 billion. And this year so far, we've already have about 400 million under contract and closed, pacing to, we're striving to go over that 2 billion mark. So without further ado, Brett Jennings, the floor is yours.
Well, I am a panelist today. So you want to go through and to lead the questions, and I'm happy to contribute and chime in. But I mean, to kick it off, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for those of you who have taken the time to attend. Usually I host and lead these top agent panels. Today's a little bit different as I'm going to be participating as a panelist, but nonetheless, our goal and my commitment over the next 55 minutes is to make sure that we, across the other three panelists here, deliver real value to you, because you've taken the time to be here, and we're committed to delivering everything that we can, and the insights and what we've learned about building teams, so that you can, if you're aspiring to build a team, start down that track, or if you're moving down the track already and you're finding yourself frustrated, how to get over some of those hurdles more quickly. So Lauren's going to take us through a series of questions that we kind of outlined we thought would give the best insights. But if you have questions as we go along, please type them in the chat. And that way, as Lauren moderates the panel today, we'll see those questions and we can make sure that we get them answered. And there will be some time at the end for some Q&A as well. So.
Love it. Thanks, Brett. I did do a little intro on you. Anything else that you would like the team on the line to know before we kind of go through introductions?
No, I think we can just go right into introductions.
All right, great. Next up, we've got Nneka Jenkins. Nneka, leader of Onyx Wealth Realty. Nneka, come on and say a little bit about how long you've been in the business, what your production was last year, and how big your team is.
Hello, I apologize in advance if my internet goes out. We've had some issues with it in my home office here. So if it cuts out, Lauren, just move on to someone else. So my name is Nneka Jenkins, and last year my team and I did 174 million, and this year we're hoping to surpass 250 million. And size of team, we have 11 agents. We are currently onboarding 2 and probably talking to a few others. So probably for 2022, we're looking at about 15 agents. And production, each of our members, except for 3 that just came on recently, have been producing pretty steadily. So yeah, that's my production level, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Love it. Next up, we've got Ian Batra, leader of the Batra team. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Lauren. So Ian Batra, been in business for 10 years. Our team right now, we're a little different. We're lean and mean. It's in production, myself, and then I have 4 other agents, all super productive, but we're trying to look to add, agents. Typically, we look for agents that'll do about 20 million. I think Chris on our team did 35 last year million, and he was our top agent besides myself. And so, we're looking to expand too. Last year we did 116 million. This year we set a goal to do 200 million. So we got 3 more quarters to go. So hopefully we can keep racking up those numbers and we can get to our 200 million mark as we've been shooting for.
Love it. I'm sure you're going to get there. And then finally, we've got a newly growing team leader. I want to introduce Erica Kastner. Erica had once pre-COVID was leading a successful 25 member team, and during COVID kind of disbanded, and now she's ramping up and bringing growing a new one and really launched Real Estate Experts Sacramento. So Erica, can you come on and say hi, say how long you've been in the business, and just, something about your team and kind of where they are with the production level?
Hi, sure. So like Lauren said, I do run the Sacramento team for Real Estate Experts. And so I've been in the business for about 8 years. Like she said, I had another team with a boutique kind of brokerage here before in Sacramento, Folsom area. Once that one disbanded, I went on my own. And so now I'm just about 6 months in, is about when we started with Real Estate Experts. Currently we have 5, so we're growing. We'd definitely like to have some more added to our team at this point as well. We have Natalie Brumley, who was already with Real Estate Experts, and then we also have 2 newer agents. And then we have a 5th one who's we're working her into more of a support staff role. So about 4 of us in production right now. And so far this year, we're about 21 million, which for our area is pretty good.
Absolutely. Love it. Thanks, Erica. I think one thing that we're all kind of curious is what led each and every one of you really to deciding to go from an independent producer model where you get to control everything and every deal is yours and you don't have to train, coach, and model, to deciding to actually grow a team. So Erica, I'd love to kind of spin this question back at you. Is the mindset and kind of what you went through when you decided I want to start growing or, growing a team again from having been an independent producer?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I had been about 2 years back to being by myself as an individual agent, and it was getting pretty lonely, I'll admit, kind of boring. There is something to be said about being able to close a great deal or do something very successful and having someone else to high five, not just kind of standing in your kitchen and hoping your spouse gets it. So having a team and having that is really exciting too. But I will say leading people has always been a passion of mine. I've been a leader in some way, shape, or form for businesses since I was 18 years old. And so by myself, I was kind of feeling like I was missing out personally. And then I was also feeling like I wasn't using my talents as well as I should and could have been. And so it's funny, Natalie had approached me 10 times, I think, probably. And I'd been watching her successes with Real Estate Experts because I knew her from Sacramento area in another part of business with real estate. And so watching her really just take off and grow, I'm like, well, what is this Real Estate Experts? And what are they doing over there that's helping Natalie get so successful? So eventually I finally realized it's probably good in time, and just really having that drive to continue to give back to new agents and other people is what brought me back.
Love it. Love it. Nneka, how about you? You went from being, in a very short time, I think you went directly from being on Brett Jennings' team to suddenly you're leading your own. Tell us a little bit about your mindset and how it's evolved over time. And Nneka, you're on mute, hon.
Minor details. Thanks. So yeah, I was on Brett's team, and he had been telling me for a while that I needed to, look into leveraging myself a little bit more and starting a team. And I fought him. And then finally I did. And yeah, we started a team. It's been about 2 years. So one thing I missed on the beginning, I've had my license for 6 years. I've been full-time for 4 years. So for the last 2 years, I've been slowly growing it. And what I love about it, it's been growing organically. So I really haven't had to do too much recruiting, which has been good for me and my mindset shift. Because I think in the beginning, I just thought, no, I just want to worry about myself. I just want to do this on my own. And, it's a trust thing, right? So I definitely had a lot of trust issues of just thinking, no, I can do it on my own. And then my husband quit corporate and then we can do it together. But it definitely made a huge difference once I started seeing just how I was able to give back what I felt Brett and the Real Estate Experts environment gave me, which is just, honing your craft and really being that expert and having people really be amazed at what you're able to provide for them and the value you're able to give to them in their lives as buyers and sellers. And then being able to leverage that across the team and show other people how they can grow as quickly as I felt I grew. So my mindset shift probably is still in the works, but probably most telling was about a year ago. when I just realized that, okay, maybe I need to step into this team leader role a lot more and help elevate other people and step back a little bit in production, which that in the last like 3 months alone has been really somewhat challenging, because you've got one hand, your ego is telling you, no, you want to be the top agent all the time, right? Or on the top leaderboard, right? Top 5. And that really, really works the ego. But I'm actually starting to shift more where I enjoy the part of watching my team grow even more than me. So that's been very interesting, but I've had many, let's just call them mini breakdowns with Brett and or Lauren and or Rebecca, of just realizing that my purpose is something different now. So now when I'm recruiting people, actually, or talking to people, no matter how they came to find out about our team and our brand, I'm really looking for someone who's super self-aware, that understands you might want to be a team leader, but are you actually good at it? Or you might be good at being a team leader, but you don't want to be. And understanding where you fall in both of those things, and knowing if it's really going to be something that's good for you, I think is critical. I'm meeting a lot of people that say that are doing 20 million, 30 million in business, and they have no dreams of wanting a team. And they also recognize maybe I'm not the leader type, and I'm okay with that. I think that's huge in real estate, because just because you do a lot of business doesn't mean you'll actually like being a team leader. So my mindset shift was just recognizing what I'm good at, but also recognizing what I'm going to enjoy doing every single day. And I've in the last 3 months, I've really just set it out that I'm going to be focused on being a best team leader, which means I'm not going to do the most amount of business, and I'm passing everything on. So that was my shift. I don't know that that's for everyone, but that's where I'm approaching my.
Love it, NECA. And I want to shout out to kind of your growth and evolution too, because I remember we had, it was 2 years ago, you and I were talking, and I was like, NECA, you do not need to be driving all over the Bay Area, spending 6 hours in the car to go show buyers homes. Like, focus on listings, let your team do that. And then last year you're like, all right, I'm on listings. And then this year you're like, you know what, I want to start giving those away too. So I love to see that, the evolution that's happened over time. Ian, how about you? Kind of like how you came on board as, you know, a team leader with a successful team. So, you know, kind of talking about that transition and how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, my story is quite a bit different. I dabbled in teams for probably 7 or 8 years, if I try to figure out, and I probably made every possible mistake in running a team. I think sort of for me, starting a team came out of, I was always really good at generating leads, and I was playing with, you know, pay-per-click and online lead gen and stuff, you know, just sitting in my office. I was at another big box brokerage, very opposite of real estate experts, like no support for a team. You know, your manager at a big box brokerage, you know, isn't going to give you any help in how to hire a team member, how to bring them on, you know, what's a team member agreement, all that stuff. So my sort of initial bringing on team members just came out of having too many leads that I didn't want to work. Or at one point I was trying to work every lead, and I was just running around, running myself ragged, and you know, not seeing my family, not seeing my wife, not seeing my daughter. So I started bringing on people so I could have help with some of these leads, and made every mistake, hired the wrong people, you know, went through a few agents. And then I brought on my first like successful team member, was actually a very close friend of mine. And he said, he had a license that he never used. And he asked me, he said, hey, if you have too many leads to work, he's like, how about I just come work with you? So then he came on, and then that evolved into me hiring another team member. And it sort of grew from there until sort of during COVID. And obviously I've known Brett from multiple brokerages. We've been at pretty much the same brokerages in like a succession. So Brett's always been kind of a personal contact friend, but he called me during COVID. I was going through a lot of, like a lot of people, sounds like Erica too, a lot of people was going through transitions with my business and my team, and kind of everything got turned upside down, had a couple team members leave. And then Brett called me and said, hey, you know, what do you think? Is it time? We'd been talking about real estate experts for a while. So finally he says, hey, you think it's time? And I'm like, you know what, let's sit down. So then Lauren came in the picture. We ended up meeting, and it just made sense for our business. So we ended up bringing over our whole team. And in the process of bringing over, I think I brought over 2 agents and simultaneously hired 2 agents to go to a bigger team, and sort of just grew from there, you know, kind of exploded and had that sort of, you know, hockey stick curve type growth, kind of leveraging what we were already doing as far as running a team. And Laura, of course, my wife Laura, who runs our operations, what we already had in place, and then we sort of plugged that in with all the real estate expert systems and added more lead gen on top with all that. And that's kind of where our growth as a team came from.
Love it. Thank you. Brett, you started growing a team about the same time Ian did. I bet you've got some fun mindset things when it comes to leads and just having like, oh, wow, I've got a little too many and I have young kids at home. Like, tell us a little bit about that. And also, Brett, you're on mute.
Thanks for letting me know I was on mute. Yeah, no, it's interesting, to hear what all our different panelists have had to say about what inspired them to, start a team. And it's different for everybody. For me personally, you heard from Ian said, hey, I wanted help with leads. Erica was like, I wanted the camaraderie. Neka, likes the journey of helping other people succeed. For me, when it started, I got inspired by this book. And if you haven't read this book and you're thinking about building a real estate team, you absolutely want to read it. I've read it probably cover to cover 50 times. It's highlighted and signed by Gary Keller. I was a Keller fan. What inspired me about that book was I had owned a few businesses before real estate. I liked real estate when I got in, and when I was becoming a pretty, good producer as a solo agent. I think I did like 36 transactions. And I was hustling, and I did have a 2-year-old at home. And I was like, man, like this is like the income's great, but I have no life and I'm never going to see my kids. So like I want to have time and money. And so that was ultimately what first inspired me to build a team. And then it got me probably through my first 4 or 5 years of like trying to build a team. And then, my team all like fell apart. I think year 4, it just like came crumbling down because it wasn't built on the right things. It was all about me. And one of my mentors asked me like, dude, what would you do if like you had all the time and money in the world? Like if you didn't have to work for money? And I was like, oh, I'd probably want to do like, I said, the funnest thing I ever did was working out of college, working for Tony Robbins for a few years. It was like helping people with their goals and coaching them. If I didn't have to work for money, I'd just do like business and life coaching. And he's like, why don't you do that with your team now? And I just didn't have people who wanted to grow. So that was a big eye opener for me. And when I changed that, then everything changed in my business. So I think the takeaway for me personally was it was about helping other people learn, grow, and become successful inside my team. But I think that's one thing for any of the people listening too, is like, what is your why for why you think you want to build a team? Because in the early stages, sometimes it is just, and that's how people make mistakes, is like, I'm just so busy, I need someone to help. And they grab the closest person to them, at the water cooler or the copier, and you make some not great hires. But you do have to have a purpose bigger than yourself, I think, is what we can agree upon from all the successful panelists here.
Thank you, Brett. Love that. As we talked a little bit about the mindset on how to, with this decision to grow it and the reason why behind it. Now, if we reference Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent in the Red Book, there are really 3 things about growing a team that you kind of have to have as a foundation to the milk stool, if you will. One is administrative support, really solid admin support. The second would be you have to have leads for these agents to work. So having like a good quality lead generation. And the third thing is good quality agents. Now, 2 of these 3 things include people, which is a huge variable. It's not a software that you can just do a free demo and try it out, or sign a 3-month commitment and try it. This is actually human beings, which, puts a lot of variables in the mix. What have you learned over time, specific with hiring people, whether it's staff or agents, that led to your evolution? Let's see, Ian, you want to go first?
Sure. I think, initially, like when I first started growing in my business and doing everything's new, everything's novel. Now I still learn things every day. It's real estate. You still get blindsided by something, but I feel like when we first start out in this business, that part is exciting. And after a while, everything became kind of transactional. And then when things get more transactional, then you start to leverage, like I remember hiring my first assistant to take some of that load off your plate, or using the office transaction coordinator. And then as you hire, now what I found for me was the part where I sort of started to excel or grow was in the coaching and training of agents. But I also could say that in hiring a team, not every agent is the right fit either. So for us, it's been, I guess my initial mistakes as far as growing the team were in the hiring and training of people. And I did everything backwards. I did everything any great coach will tell you, don't hire an agent till you have good administrative support. Of course, I just hired agents before I had administrative support. So that was probably a big mistake on me. And Brett's laughing because he's probably done similar things. And I was just like, oh, I have leads and I need to grow my business. So what I've learned now we have a lot of systems in place. I have our full-time admin, and then we have all the support and staff of real estate experts. So we kind of fuse that together to create the leverage piece. Now, as far as the quality leads, we're always looking for new lead sources, both from one's company generated leads as well as the leads we generate. And then the last piece, which is the piece I think we still sort of battle with all the time, which is how do you find and hire quality agents? And I think if I were to give one piece of advice to any aspiring team leader, is don't just hire any agent, aspire up. So my thing was, and that was truly I guess the biggest difference from our latest iteration of our team is we have done exactly that. We've hired really strong agents. And when I'm interviewing somebody, and I think Brett told me this at one point, we were interviewing an agent that we didn't hire, and Brett, we get off the call and Brett looks at me and goes, I just didn't feel that agent had the fire. And I was saying, I looked back and we said, no, you're right. We want passionate agents who are going to strive to, they may not be doing 20 million a year now, but we want that agent that's going to do 20, 30, 40 million. We want to hire stronger agents. But then also for an agent standpoint, that agent has to have, they have to have a sort of a team mentality and a willingness to want to be a part of a team and part of something bigger. Because we also have had those challenges too, where sometimes we had an agent whose ego was bigger than the team, but then their production certainly didn't match. Even they not only were they were the last place team member, not even anywhere near the top team member of our team. So I think that's kind of been our thing now. We've sort of solved the first two pieces. Leads are great. Leverage is good, although we're always trying to improve that. And really, we're still working on the piece. We're always working on as team leaders. Any aspiring team leader, it's always about finding the quality agents and is the quality talent agent wise.
I love it. And I appreciate that you shared a little learning experience and some helpful tips for sure. Erica, how about you? You've been growing, fast and furious, and you used to run a 25 member team. How did the people fit into that one?
Well, it's been very similar on both. That one, we grew to about 20, 25 pretty fast, relatively fast, I would say. But, you mentioned that those are the three things that are kind of cornerstone of real estate. And I think that the foundation of real estate is who you hire. I think that, especially if you're planning on growing a team, you have to be ultra selective with the hiring process. And I think some of the things that Ian said, I would have actually probably said verbatim, because we're going to say pretty much the same thing. You have to be ultra selective. Sorry, my phone is beeping. One moment, so it's not annoying there. You need to make sure that they're a really good fit and go with your gut. So if you don't think something is right, you're probably right. So that might not be the right person to hire. With both of my teams, they've come organically. Whether it's just from being in the community or social media or word of mouth, things like that, I really think that teammates want to work with people who they like. And so being able to be out there organically and be authentic, I think you will attract people organically to be on your team. But my biggest belief when it comes to hiring is that you can hire driven and very nice people, and you can train them to be realtors, but you can't hire realtors and train them to be driven and nice people. You need to start with the person themselves. For example, I have someone on my team who, she's been a friend for years. She's a stay-at-home mom. And I didn't know she was even trying to become a realtor, but she hit me up and she said, hey, I got my license. And I'm like, oh, this is part of the reason, and I'll kind of go into it later too. But why I came back to having a team, because it was like, she would be great for our team. And she is, she's been great. You can tell from a mile away if someone has what it takes to be a great realtor. I think that the other thing too is making sure that everyone in your team is rowing in the same direction, and be okay with having people get out of your boat if they're not rowing in the same direction with you. I think that attitude is way bigger than skill set sometimes, and making sure that everyone is positive. And I guess I think it was the Nordstrom way or whatever that says that you can hire the smile and train the skill, and I thoroughly believe that.
Love it. Love it. Brett, Erica kind of talked a little bit about core values, and I know that that's something that resonates with you. Tell us a little bit about your staff and your team, kind of the people part of it. And you're on mute, Brett.
So I run a team of 5 agents, and I've had as many as 13 agents on my team at one point. I think as you decide to build a team, you definitely want to create a vision of where you want to go as far as what size team you want to build. Personally, I think, once we got past like 10 to 12 agents, it gets harder to retain that kind of, I like to say, we call it, like, we create a vibe like we're a business family, but not a family business. And you get over 12 agents on a traditional team and it gets frayed at the edges. The culture does. But speaking about culture, for me personally, it was about 3 or 4 years into building the team where we had some people come in and, you'd make a bad hire and we weren't super clear about what we were looking for. What you've heard so far people talk about is, you need somebody who's nice and somebody who's ambitious or, strives to succeed. So on that first interview, we're looking for a trajectory of success. Like, if once a winner, always a winner. When I interview somebody and they're like, hey, did you ever win anything in your life? It could have been they won like the 6th grade science fair. But once they establish that in their mindset, they never want to let that go. And so the best, your best agents are going to have that kind of mindset of success. The second thing that we're looking for is we use the DISC profile. And if you're familiar with the DISC, you definitely, if you're planning on building a team, want to get familiar with it. But we're looking for people that are pretty high on the D, like above a 50 on the D. So they've got a good amount of, D stands for drive. They've got a good amount of drive and they've got a high I. The I is their ability to influence or their natural sociability. So you find people who are ambitious and very social, and they're typically going to do really well. But beyond that, core values for us have been the big thing with hiring. And like I said, it was about year 4 when the team kind of fell apart that those that were left, we scratched our heads and said, hey, so-and-so, they're a good guy or good gal. Like, I'd still go have a beer with them, but I don't know, they just weren't right. And so what was it that made them not right? And out of that conversation, we really came up with what were the things that we really wanted in other team members and what were non-negotiables. And that is really how real core values come about. They're not something you copy and paste off of somebody else's mission statement about integrity and success and all of that. It's really what is core. What do you hire over and what do you fire over? And if you get clear on that, and you hold those standards, use that DISC profile, then I think the hiring will become much easier. But I'd like to hear from NECA because she's really blown up her team. And I think it's been a lot through kind of living out her core values through social media. Like people can see and witness kind of what she's up to and what she's doing. And, but what have you noticed about both mistakes, right hires and wrong hires?
Let's share some good stories, NECA.
Yeah, so no, this is a good one for me because I've grown a lot through it too, right? So, take every situation, good, bad, and ugly, and there's always a lesson in it. But a big thing for me that I've realized is when you bring people on that are not growth minded, if that's even a term, if they don't have a growth mindset and they're constantly looking to grow and to learn, I think that's going to be hard when you're in this culture where you're trying to build a team and you're trying to do a lot more business. One of the things that bothers me about this industry is there's so many people that want to hold their cards close to their chest and don't want to share information and this, that, and the other. And that's one of the things that attracted me to what Brett was building. Cause I mean, I was back then when I wasn't the original like 3 or 2 or whatever, but when there was only like 5 of us, right? And I've always been thinking growth when partnering with him, when growing, when finally believing him to grow my business. And I think that's super critical, because if you sit there and you're being a high D means you probably have high economic standards and you want to grow economically as well, right? So, oftentimes I have people that will come and say, oh, well, I'm on a 95K split. Sorry, we're just going to get real here, right? I'm on a 95% split or whatever. And then a lot of other fees come out of it and all this stuff. And then I say, okay, well, what is your brokerage giving you? What are they giving you? How are they helping you grow? How are they helping you leverage and all of that thing? So you do 10 deals and you get 95% of it, or you do 30, maybe 40 deals, and you're growing and you're building, I call it, Lauren, what did I call it? Your referral train, right? When I first came on, I left corporate. I did 10 deals part-time doing corporate. And then my first year I did 36 deals. And the biggest thing for that was not being an undercover agent, listening to everything Brett, my then mentor, still mentor, coach, team leader told me to do, and learning from him. He's been in the business at that time. It was 12 years or something, 15 years. And I know that I want to grow to his level, but I don't necessarily, if it doesn't have to take 10 years, it doesn't have to take 10 years, right? So he's out there teaching all of us how to get his growth in a shorter amount of time. I think that's the way that the business is going. So a little interesting story, I've had, agents that are more focused on looking the part rather than being the part. So with social media, we all know it's super critical that you look the part on social media, you look the part to your colleagues and all of that. That's critical. I get that. But if you also can't talk the talk, I think that's bad. I think that's setting a bad example of what this industry really is. So to me, I focus on really honing my craft and understanding, and then passing that those examples and those trainings on to my team. And that's what sets the people apart. So when people organically come and want to join forces with us, Calvin and I are very, very, very protective of our space in the terms of we will give and give and give to our team. And so if we're not feeling like they have the right mindset or they're on the right road to have the right mindset, then it's going to be wasted, right? Because if they don't want to grow in the way that you're growing, if they don't have the same value systems, it's just going to be more stressful than it's worth. And I don't know that, they're going to they should find another team that's going to work better for them. So I've definitely bumped my head on a few bad, say, hires or, team members or whatever. And it doesn't mean that they're bad. It means their home is not with me. They're not going to grow and elevate their game with me.
Love it. That's great. That's really great. Now, kind of piggyback on that, NECA, you were on Brett's team and then you went to grow your own team. What would you say if you had someone on your team who wanted to copy you and be in that path?
I'd say, let's do it. I'm not just saying that. Anyone that knows me knows I mean this like 100%. This is exactly where you can do that. And Lauren, we're talking about it soon, but I actually do have someone that probably is going to start growing their own team in this environment. And this is the environment to do that in. Rex, Onyx, Ian Botcher's team, Erica's team. I'm telling you, the way that we leverage our resources, the way that we have the admin support, the marketing support, the listing management support, you're going to attract people that still want to have a good work-life balance, if you will, if that even exists. And they're still going to want to be the top of their game and be that, listing queen or king in their area of choice. And you need to show them that the way you're able to leverage those resources is really what's critical, because you can run yourself ragged doing all of the things and being all of the assistants that you should have hired, but really leveraging them across a platform like this is exactly what will get you to the next level, right? So you can focus. I always tell my team agents and my husband know very well, you need to stay in your lane. So I stay in my lane of making sure I can talk to the buyers and sellers and helping guide them in what they need to do. And then we have the people that don't want to be agents, that are in the admin roles, that are doing what they need to do, or our ISAs in the background. And they're all working together to make sure that this train works so that you can stay in front of the client. That's literally all you're paid to do. Stay in front of the client, guide the whole transaction, and you can help more and more families in this industry the more you stay in your lane, and then you have other people supporting. So I would say absolutely do it. And any team leader that's more focused on keeping that person close and, making sure they don't leave them, you're doing the wrong thing. You literally should be so excited to see your people grow. Number one, it's going to open up another opportunity for other people to come in. And number two, you get to be a part of that growth, right? So I think whether they stay with you or not, let them grow. But if you create an environment where they can grow within your ecosystem, I think that's critical.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Part of creating an environment where they can grow within the ecosystem is not just training and support and, the oh no calls like, this came up, what do I do? I've never negotiated that before. But the other part of that is providing something for these agents to work. So we're talking lead sources. You've got to have leads to get people to stay with you and working on your team, something to feed them so they can produce. So Ian, I'd like to kind of move over to you. Let's talk about lead sources. Your top 3 favorite lead sources that your agents love to work. And if there's any lessons learned, we love hearing where we went off track and where you went on track again.
Sure. And to answer the question, you say top 3, there's really, I'll say there's 5 because, and the 5 are the same. So there's 4 ones that you'll hear a lot. And then I'll say my 5th, which is big for us. So every agent, and it's a requirement for our team to participate in sphere marketing, which is one thing the company helps facilitate. So before that, and that needs to be a tried and true system. So for us, we run off the classic, postcard mailer a month, quarterly phone call, 2 events a year, and 2 gifts a year to our top sphere people and past clients. And that's kind of the first tried and true. Then the second thing, which is really what kind of built our business, is online leads. So we've done all of it. Of course, Zillow Flex is a big one for us, but we also do Realtor.com. We do Facebook ads, pay-per-click, YouTube ads. So any kind of online lead generation, and that includes some of the experimental social media stuff we're kind of starting to dabble in more. I'm not saying that an Instagram video has made me any business yet, but we still mess around with them. And then there's geographic farming, which is again another tried and true. And then the 4th kind of big one that we always use is open houses and marketing around our listings. So that's mailing around, so even a listing isn't in our geographic farm, working the listing, mailing around the listing, contacting the neighbors, all that kind of stuff. And then the last one that's huge for us, and it generates just for both for me and for my agents, is agent-agent referrals. So we're pretty heavily networked in coaching organizations and stuff around the country. So that network usually brings in about 20 million in business a year, sometimes more. And so those are kind of, I call my big 5.
Love it. Awesome. Erica, how about you? What's your 3, your 5, your 8, your number 1? What is it for you and your team, and how you guys have done, 23 million this year?
Well, it's not really fair for me to speak after Ian's 5 right there, but no, I'm just kidding. I actually, because again, this is just we're just restarting this team, right? So the lead sources are a little different, and we're getting ready to start taking on other online leads and things like that. However, to this point, we've been doing, I would call it 1 with 2 subcategories, which is sphere of influence. My entire business for my whole career really has been sphere of influence. And I used to be one of those agents who would brag and say, I've never spent a dime on advertising and la, la, la. So I realized that you can spend a lot of dimes on advertising and build a really great business. I just hadn't done it at that point. However, under sphere of influence, I will say that social media is, I can track back almost every transaction I've ever had to a post here or the a post there. And almost no one that I ever have had on my team has ever been like, yep, I'm totally in on social media. I love social media. Nobody seems to love social media. So it's always something that I'm trying to kind of shove down the agents' throats, and they do take it and they run with it, and it helps their businesses too. And then of course, past clients, which I still consider part of my sphere of influence, just really keeping them close and nurturing, being authentic, engaging with them on social media, probably most often. I would even say, when something comes up in their life, they have a baby or a milestone, something like that, just authentically reaching out to them. I always kind of say that I want to be like a loved member of their family who also happens to be their realtor type thing. And so I've tried to set myself up that way. And that's how the business has come to me as far as through sphere of influence.
Love it. Love it. Nneka, how about you?
I want to hand it to you, Erica, because, it's not easy to build a team to start with, and to actually get a team to, quote, row together. And you've proven that you actually can build a team and be successful using solely, as the main pillar sphere of influence. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, because it's, you've done a great job with that.
Thank you. And I think it just goes back to, it's not just clients, it's agents too, who want to work with people who they like, right? So it's just being that person that can attract both clients and agents, I think, is a big deal.
For sure. Absolutely. Nneka, how about you? What is your team of 10, team of 11 working right now?
So of course we have Zillow Flex with real estate experts, and some paid per click ads. And we have Homelight. And one of the things that I really love about leverage is leveraging each listing. So as we're coming out of COVID, I feel like some areas are becoming more open to stretching the open houses to 2 weekends. And everyone on here that has listings, I think we should all do that, right? So for this recent San Leandro listing, I'm just going to run through. So 2 weekends ago, we just took offers a couple days ago. 2 weekends ago, Friday, we did a neighborhood tour. One of my agents, Anna, did that one. She loves that area. She knows a lot of sellers in that area. So she canvassed the area, gave them little invites, and had them come to the open house. Saturday, we had 2 agents, Cece and Jasmine, hosted Saturday. They had over 40 groups. On Sunday, Laura Burke hosted our Sunday open house. Then I convinced the seller, and honestly, I did it in the seller's best interest, because we've had a lot of volatility with interest rates. The day we were gonna take offers on that property was the day after a really bad announcement, which was 2 weeks, on what interest rates were doing. And I said, I'm sensing that there's a lot of stress and emotions around buyers right now, because their pre-approvals might have been X, and now they're X minus 20K, X minus 50K. So I said, it's up to you, but I think we should stretch it another weekend. And so we did. So then the following weekend, I had 2 other agents do it. The ability to train your agents to use those opportunities to not sell the house. The house is going to sell. They are selling themselves. They're selling how we put listings on the market, and they are selling buyers on how we have off-market opportunities. We have good connections, like Ian mentioned. He's been in this business a long time. He has great connections with other agents, and you need to leverage the fact that you are well connected in the business, and people are passing you off-market pocket deals all the time. So that's become a good lead source. And I mean, honestly, we picked up at least 7 good quality sellers and some buyers from that listing. So stretching those listings out, really using the opportunity. There's one agent on my team, and for a lot of her years in business, she has sold a lot of stuff off market. That's fine. I'm not saying selling off market is not a good idea, but we all know that for the most part, your client's going to get more money on market. And second, it's part of your resume. You need to use that opportunity to show people how you shine. That is literally your resume. You're only as good as your last deal, right? So that's been a huge lever for us to pull on. And that, just to back up, that listing in San Leandro came from our real estate experts marketing team sending out on cue marketing material to my SOI and or recent sales. And they picked up my thing and said, hey, he emailed me, and literally, I love the email. He just said, hey, I'm interviewing 3 agents to sell my team, but I happen to get your postcard in the mail. You look nice. And if you want to come by and talk to us, great. I had 2 meetings with him and I landed it, right? So again, leveraging all of those different opportunities and having things working in the background, that's what's made my business 10x in the last, right, like 3-4 years. And then the last one is realty.com. So I know the owner of realty.com. It's been a really special relationship for me. I was on Clubhouse for all of 2 seconds. No knocking Clubhouse. I was pregnant. I was having another kid. It was just a lot for me to keep it going. But literally the couple of days that I was on there, I had such an in-depth conversation with the owner, and I really got to like him. And so I bought quite a few cities out here where I get exclusive leads for those locations. And I have 2 ISAs in the background calling them. And anytime a lead comes in, we're literally passing it on to our team. So I do have that extra resource as well.
Love that. Thanks, Nneka. How about you, Brett? Let's hear some of your lessons learned.
Yeah. So lead gen, you have to decide, right? Like if you're going to be a team leader, you're going to need to generate leads for your team if you're going to want to grow, because one of the reasons that they're going to come join you and accept, or be willing to take a lower split is because you're driving opportunity to them. In the early stages for me, I started out with like Ian, online leads was one of my core pillars. As I grew as an agent with experience and got more experience, I really, and for anyone who's considering building a team, because there is an order and a sequence to the things that you want to do to build your team and build it right. Because you can do the right things in the wrong order and you don't get the right results. So doing things in the right order, and that is, first off, getting focused on listings. If you have ambitions to start a team, I like to say you're probably not ready to start a team until you can start knocking down 2 listings a month. Because at that stage, you add a couple agents, and you've got 2 open houses happening every month. And if like Nneka's advocating, you stretch them out for 2 weekends of open houses, which with the market slowdown coming, that's probably going to be feasible. Now you've got a really good pillar. So open houses will be one. Is a cool one for us. Online is another. Zillow, or now Zillow Flex, has been a great opportunity for us. Sphere of influence, obviously. So one of the things that we haven't really talked about, or actually Erica's leveraging this, but is really helping your new team members who come on get their sphere of influence together, like get it out of their phone and their Facebook and their LinkedIn and get it into one location so they can flag it and tag it and append it to get the addresses and things. All of that data is not that hard to get, but get it into a system so they can start marketing to it, or you can start marketing it to it for them. That is a huge opportunity, I think, that's often overlooked by early team leaders. For me personally, I really didn't start capitalizing that until probably 3 years into the business. I was spending more money than I needed to on leads. And then lastly, so we talked about online, open houses, sphere of influence, and then farming. We start with a formula where once you land a listing, doing what we call event-based farming. And that is doing a just listed, pending sale, and I have a buyer letter around that listing to help generate the listings. And if you're willing to prospect, either door knock or call, you can basically get a listing out of every listing. If you're only willing to mail, it's probably, we found, about every second or third listing, you'll land another listing. That's what happened for us. So sphere of influence, online, open houses, and farming have been the best producers for us.
That's great. You've mentioned a little bit about marketing to them. Brett, what kind of systems are you using, not just for these lead management, but for communication with your team? What are the necessary systems or platforms that you've invested in?
Yeah, and I think we'll let some of our other panelists share as well. But one of the core systems that we all use is a CRM platform called Boomtown. As you build a team, your business is your database. The size of your business is correlated to the number of people that know you're in business. And so you want to have a centralized place where you and your team manage all of those leads, contacts, and opportunities. It doesn't have to be Boomtown, and there's a lot of great ones out there. The best CRM is the one you use. And so getting your team members to use a good CRM, Boomtown happens to be the one that we use most. There's really 3 core pieces of tech that my team uses. Boomtown is one. Another one is something called the Side app. So our backend brokerage partner is this company called Side, and they've got a cool app for really agent efficiency and writing offers. WinForms is clunky at best. I mean, it works, but the nice thing about the Side app is, it used to be 40 minutes to do an offer on WinForms and get it in DocuSign and flagged and tagged. Now we can do it in 5 minutes from the app, which is pretty cool when you have to write, whatever it is, 3, 5, 10 offers in a week to get one accepted. So the side app, and then the third thing would be something called Sisu. And Sisu is a cool sales tracking program that enables us to provide, clearly see our goals, but also like provide leaderboards. So your team, naturally, if you hire good people, they're going to be competitive. And so, for example, this is looking at like our leaderboard for our agents, year to date closed sales. And so we provide this, at our weekly sales meeting for the teams. And, people are like, nobody wants to be at the bottom of the board. So that's something that Sisu is a great tool for both tracking your sales activity and then displaying or gamifying them. So those are the 3 that I use. I'm sure there's other supplemental tech that some of our other panelists are using for like efficiency with their other stuff, but I'm interested to hear what they have to say too.
Yeah, absolutely. Erica, with your team having Natalie doing business down in the peninsula, and then I know you've got Patsy, you refer to, she's the up the hill or in the mountains gal. How are you guys staying cohesive and with communication software or having efficiency to communicate?
Yeah, we keep it pretty simple. We do a ton of Zoom and texting. Obviously, we have group text, and then Zoom, just because we are a satellite office, so we don't have necessarily a place to sit down and have a meeting all the time. Granted, we go to coffee shops and things too, but being able to just jump on a quick Zoom, let me see your screen, that kind of thing has been so great. And then I think too, even though it's fairly new to me and our team, the Sisu, the ranking is just great. I think that while I don't necessarily I'm not always the best at it, but being able to have, I think it's kind of that belief that you can't manage what you can't manage what you can't measure, right? So you have to be able to see where you are, where your team is, where you're heading, if you're on track, if you're pacing goal, things like that. I think it's huge, because if, for example, an agent might think they're doing a great job and they might think they're contributing to the greater goals, but then if you look at it, the numbers don't lie, right? So having that as a tool to us is, I think, great for our business. And then a CRM, I do believe in it. And like Brett said, it's the best one's the one that you use. For a long time, I've been like a lot of agents where my cell phone was my CRM, but as a team leader, you can't really track that way. You have to be able to keep things, I think scalable is the word we use, be able to kind of keep it managed, know where everything is, know where your leads are going, especially if you're buying the leads for the agents. So I think that's another big one that we are leaning into quite a bit more.
Love that. I talk about that too. Are we busy or are we working? Because the software will let you know if you are working, and it will let you know if you were just busy. Ian, how about you?
So for us, the CRM is the tool that it's everything. You kind of then all the back ends of all the platforms. I joke sometimes that Facebook has become like the CRM. Because if you don't have somebody's contact info, like I'll be like, how come I don't have this person's phone number anymore? Or I don't know, sometimes I feel like iPhones, like just numbers disappear. And so you can't find someone's number, so then you go Facebook message them. So I think, all your social media apps in tech, we still leverage those. But really, when it comes to tech tools, it's the CRM that's the big one to live and die by as in any sales. And I was in different sales before real estate. So even before real estate, that was pounded in my head how important a CRM is. And then, like I said, anything else to track and measure, Sisu, and then we track, because we've been involved at Tom Ferry coaching for a long time. So we're team coaching clients, and then we track heavily in the back end of Tom's system as well for numbers and stuff.
Love it. NECA, you have the largest team by headcount on here, and I know that you are utilizing all the tools mentioned therefore above, but also adding your own. So what other tools are you using to manage your mega team?
Yes, so I do, you're right. And it gets a little scary at times. I see Kenny Fast is on here, and he's got a large team. So he thrives in that kind of environment. And this is a bit scary for me because it's growing quite big. One thing I, will stress is that, last year, the business that we did was with really 5 active producing agents, and we've grown since then. And that's why it's getting bigger. And before I go into the systems, one thing that's not really a system, but I think everybody should have is a good mentor and or coach. I don't care if you pay them. I don't care if you don't pay them. Like, honestly, I don't care how big this thing gets for Calvin and I with Onyx Wealth Realty. There's so much value to be had with having a good quality mentor and or coach to hold you accountable. So that's that. As far as systems, we use Slack with real estate experts quite heavily. But I use Monday.com. It was kind of by accident that I started. I know a lot of people use Asana, and I think Asana is great. For some technical issues, they couldn't accommodate me because I had the real estate experts domain at that time. And it was actually, now I don't have that domain because of our new firm, but it actually worked out because I love Monday.com, but it is more expensive and it's a bit more robust, but I love it. It has a lot of similar qualities with Sisu, I think, but it's a task management tool that mirrors, I know Eric, Kenny will love this a lot, and Brett, I know he and I vibe a lot on spreadsheets. It's spreadsheet based. So when I pull the data out, it literally translates so beautifully into Excel. So that's been key. And then one thing I just started recently, because I noticed I was blowing up all of my agents' chats with a lot of group chats, whether it's with clients or internal or with a lender. And so I started using Discord. I'm open to ideas on, if there's other things that are good, but I really like Discord. It's kind of like Slack, but it's more just for chatting and that function. I know they do some of the stuff Slack does, but Slack has the plugins with spreadsheets. But I use that because it has a lot of channels and it's set up like Slack, but it's really great for chatting. And so we have different channels. You can add certain people to each channel, and they have a good web-based one and a good one on your phone. I think they have one on the app, on the iPad as well. But those are things that I use for my team: Monday.com, Slack, Sisu, of course, and Discord.
Love it. Thank you. So we talked about, the support, the leads, the agents, some lessons learned along the way. We've talked about systems. Brett, some people on the line might be thinking, well, when do I know what's the right time to grow a team? And so love to talk a little bit about the roadmap to the path to kind of get to this stage.
Yeah, I think the one thing that all the panelists on here have in common is that I mentioned, success oftentimes isn't just about doing the right things, but doing the right things in the right order. And I think one of the things that helped me, that is also helped these people along the way, is this roadmap. So I'm just going to share this real quick. I was personally coached to this framework, and then we've adapted and adopted it, to kind of our market as we've grown. But it really takes you through kind of the 7 stages of a real estate business, going from like solo agent to getting to a place where, you're like a team of NECAs or mine, where you've got, up to 12 agents, you're doing 150 plus transactions, making a 7-figure income. It is very predictable. The thing is, what happens is at every stage, you'll have a breakdown and then a breakthrough. And the question is like, we call that a leverage point. It's turning those failures into success. But the good news is like, it's not rocket science. It's simple, but it's not easy. And this has been one of the things, like, for example, when Ian and I got together, he was at, I think, kind of around the grower stage. And so what we ended up doing was really helping leverage better systems in the admin team. So he was at this yellow stage right here. And, it says the goal of that stage was fully leverage the admin team so you can regain time, focus more on prospecting for sellers and starting a farm, and Ian was able to focus more on listings and leverage the administrative team specifically to add agents. We added, I think, 2, Ian, what was it, 2 or 3 agents that last year?
So I had more, but they weren't good producers. So I dropped a couple and we added 3 or 4, and then 2 stuck. Yeah.
We added 3 and we helped, identify and place those guys and gals on your team. and then you were able to focus more on the listing side, and we saw your listing volume increase. And so wherever you are, there's a next step and there's a path. So what I wanted to say in closing is I will provide a copy. Let me do share screen again real quick. I will provide a copy if you all want a copy of that roadmap. Happy to provide it for you. If you scan the QR code that's right there on the screen, or you go to Top Agent Panel, what you'll see is a form will come up. Our goal is to continue to deliver great content. Whether you choose to work in our world or not, we feel the real estate agent community in general needs, could only be elevated. And it doesn't hurt us one iota to share this great content and information, but we also want to know from you, what other kind of questions or things are you guys struggling with that we could bring and add value? So you'll see a short questionnaire there when you scan that form. Let us know what kind of thing, a little bit about your business and what kind of things you would like to see or hear about in the future. And we will bring additional events like this, bringing you the content that you want to see. So that's what I wanted to say. So I'll provide a copy of that roadmap for you if you like. And if you are embarking on building a team yourself and you're thinking, shoot, I want to do this and I want to do it right. Lauren or I will make time. We have limited time. So we typically, when we do these events, we'll hold a space for like 10 people on the calendar where we could do a 30-minute strategy session with you. So again, whether you're currently running a team and you're just struggling to get to that next level, we can have a conversation and tell you, kind of looking at those 7 stages, what's next for you. Or if you're contemplating building a team, what kind of things that you need to be thinking about in addition to what we shared here. So to take advantage of that, you simply would want to go to laurenscalendar.com and grab a spot. You'll see when you go to that, it's a Calendly link. If you see the Calendly link, you can grab one for a strategy session. But I want to leave a couple minutes here. We went a few minutes over. I want to leave a couple minutes here for some Q&A for our panelists. So if you have some questions that came up, our panelists are still here for a few more minutes. And if we don't, then let's see. So any questions, you can either unmute yourself and come on out and ask, or you can drop a question in the chat. Whatever works best for you.
Brett, while we're waiting on questions, why don't we go just rapid fire, each panelist, what's the #1 piece of advice that they wish they knew when they started a team?
For an aspiring team leader, what's the one thing that you could share with an aspiring team leader?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, ladies first. Nneka, what's the one thing?
Oh, the one thing is stop thinking you can do it all by yourself. So if you don't already have an assistant, get an assistant. It was a stupid mistake, but when I was part-time, or stupid thing to do, but it worked out. When I was part-time, I was so undercover realtor that I hired an assistant to help with my part-time real estate business while I was full-time in tech. So I'm saying that to say it all worked out, but how done, right? Mindset shift. So anyway, the point is, if you don't already have an assistant and you're doing a good amount of business and you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up, hire an assistant. Make it a part-time intern if you have to, but hire somebody that you can leverage, and also someone that wants to grow from you, learn from you, and take your business to the next level. That would be my one piece of advice.
Love it. Erica, you're up. What's your one piece?
I think having the right brokerage support is huge, because I've had teams at other brokerages. I've been by myself at other brokerages, and being able to have the back end support and the curated experience from people other than myself to help guide the people who I'm trying to guide. It's better than just kind of throwing the spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks. It's actually having this tried and true process and the back end support kind of coupled together. It truly becomes like a textbook, much easier way to have a team started.
Fantastic. Ian, how about you?
So I agree with both what Erica and Nneka said, but mine's a little different. I would say decide what kind of business you really want to build. Not everybody can or should be a team leader. I would say it's a thing Tom Ferry does, but he basically gives you your options. You could be a top producing individual agent, and some people probably shouldn't have sub agents or agents on their team. They should just go after, maybe hire an assistant to take the other stuff off your hands. Some people are better off having a lean and mean team, maybe just a couple of agents that support, or maybe leveraging showing agents. And then there's people who, can build mega teams and are great at that. For me, I found that after real estate, the transactional side of real estate started to actually, if anything, you get a little boring. What inspires and makes me excited about the team is coaching and helping my team members and watching them grow. Something similar to what Nick said earlier. So that became a passion for me. And the everyday of real estate, like listing selling house, I like it. But if that's all I did, I'd probably find this business a little boring. My excitement does drive from building a team and watching my team members grow. But I think for people out there thinking about building a team, decide what you really want. Just because you're a good producing agent doesn't mean you have to be a team leader. I've seen agents grow incredible businesses as individuals just by leveraging maybe like some admin support stuff too. So you don't have to build a team, but if that inspires and you find passion in, or find something inspiring about that, then go for it and start building your team.
Fantastic. Brett, why don't you take us home with what's that one piece of advice?
Yeah, I would echo what Ian said. I mean, there was the one nugget there. He said, get clear on what you want. So get clear on what you want to build, and more importantly, why you want to build it. Like, why are you doing this? If it's just money driven, you're only going to go so far. If it involves the success of others and you're contributing to other people, you will, I'll call it, draw forth resources, support from unseen areas that you wouldn't ever imagine. So that's what's been my experience. Like, my business kind of went to another level when I shifted from like, hey, I'm grinding it out to make money so I can buy rental properties and retire from real estate to one day, to really like, helping people grow and go to the next level. So resources and support and energy move to those people who are truly in committed to being in the service of others. But get clear. The first thing you want to do is really get clear what it is and why you want to build it. We are doing at the end of this month something called a strategic vision workshop. So if you're an aspiring team leader or a current team leader, what it will help you do is create what we call, let me see, rummaging around here. It will help you create what we call a one-page strategic plan. And it's basically a one-page business plan with, exactly what you're creating, why you're creating it, what the financial goals are, what your core values are. And it will help provide that level of clarity for you. If you're in this, if you're going to be in it to win it, and getting clear from the outset is the best way to go. Any final questions we can drop in the chat? I saw we had a couple questions about email marketing. I answered those. We use ActivePipe. We used to use MailChimp. But I want to thank everyone for showing up, and I hope you got some value out of the time today, and that we at least provided some ideas that you can start implementing in your business to take it to the next level.